Hi everyone, this is Mix from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have a detailed review on the Adidas Harden Volume 5 Futurenatural Magnolia. To start things off, I was pretty excited when they unveiled the Harden Volume 5 because of the cushion setup that they used and the mere fact that Hardens have always been pretty good basketball shoes. The Harden Volume 1 and Harden Volume 3 are some of my all-time favorites. The Harden Volume 2 was pretty good, and the Harden Volume 4 was good as well. The only problem I did have with that shoe was the midfoot strap and that the Lightstrike cushion was a little bit thin. So with that track record from Adidas and Harden's signature line, I was definitely eager to get a pair of these. My review on these is a little bit late because I really wanted to wait until I could find these in store so that I could fit them before buying them. It was definitely the right move in my opinion because the fit is a little bit weird, and of course we will be talking about that in a little bit. Then once I tried them on, my initial excitement just turned into loads of disappointment, and I guess you can say that I really just love doing this because if I didn't review shoes then I would have definitely not bought these. But for me to explain why I was so disappointed in the shoe, let's get into the tech specs. For the traction, the Harden Volume 5 does have a net-like traction pattern on the outsole, but it is done in such a way that it looks a little wavy, giving you some sections where the rubber grooves are closer together and some where they're farther apart. The entire outsole makes use of translucent rubber, and it does seem pretty grippy. However, I am a little bit skeptical on how this will work on court, since I did pick up quite some dust just by walking around in store. The grooves are pretty hard though, so I think this might be a good outdoor option when it comes to traction, so at least that's a big positive there. There has been a little bit of outcry on the internet because we did see the outsole on James Harden's pair, and on his it actually seems like they used a herringbone traction pattern, and I'm not really sure why they changed it up for him. Maybe he wasn't liking how this traction pattern gripped, maybe he wasn't liking how this traction pattern was working, and they changed it up in his PEs. If that is the case, then that's pretty unfortunate because we just have to deal with this one. But of course, I will update you guys in the performance review if this traction is any good. Then for the cushion, this is probably my biggest disappointment with the Harden Volume 5 because for the tech specs on the cushion, you have a drop-in boost midsole within a Lightstrike carrier. I was definitely excited when I saw these tech specs on the internet because I really love the Lightstrike that they use on the Dame 6 and the Dame 7. Plus, I've always enjoyed boost, especially in the Harden line, going from the Harden 1 up to the Harden Volume 3. So naturally, when I heard that they were combining boost and Lightstrike, I was thinking that this shoe could have awesome cushion, but when I tried it out in store and tried it out here at home just jumping around, I could barely feel any cushion. You do feel a little bit of impact protection, but there's not really a feeling of compression or bounce back or anything like that, and the cushion overall just feels dead. I think the main reason for this is that the rubber comes up quite a bit, and above that you have something that looks like Lightstrike, and initially when I saw these on the internet I thought that was the Lightstrike foam. However, what you have on the Harden Volume 5 is this stiff rand of plastic. It really is quite hard and it's so plasticky, and it just doesn't make sense to me because you just put boost and Lightstrike in the shoe and then you essentially nullified everything with this plastic cage. I do hope that the cushion on these does break in, but as of now my thoughts on the cushion is that it's really underwhelming and it's just so disappointing given that the tech specs are actually really nice. Then for the materials, this is probably the second most disappointing part of the shoe because most of the upper is so stiff and plasticky. You do have this sort of inner shell that's this textile, and though it doesn't feel premium, it is pretty soft, and it has good padding here at the rear, and you have some Achilles notches as well. That inner textile extends to the tongue and it is nice and soft, and it seems pretty well ventilated as well. Then for the other materials on the upper, this is where it's pretty much shit because you have this sort of plastic infused textile and it's really barely textile and more of just plastic, and it's pretty much all over the shoe from the toe to the heel, except for this small portion on the heel and ankle collar that exposes that softer textile. It's really just so cheap feeling and stiff, and it's actually so rigid that I almost cut myself here on this portion on the ankle since that plastic is so stiff. You also have these nylon pull tabs on the heel and the tongue, and surprisingly enough, these are stiff as well. And then for the rest of the materials, you do have these patches of felt, and they are just super thin and glued on. There really aren't any positive takeaways from the materials on the upper, except for maybe that heel portion is nice and padded, but aside from that, everything is just super cheap and super stiff, and I can already feel that this might cause some chafing and some discomfort when I take these out on court, but once again, I am hoping that these break in. But once again, I am really hoping that these do break in. Then for fit and sizing, this is the third most disappointing part of the Harden Volume 5, and it's because I really couldn't find the right fit for me. Going through to size is definitely way too big, and you'll be swimming in the shoe, and you might even have the shoe fly off once you're playing. And if you go down a full size, the length will be just right. However, the midfoot will be so tight that it would be like unbearable pain, unless of course you have a super duper narrow foot. So what I settled on was going down half a size. When I went down half a size, the midfoot did feel pretty snug, but not too snug. But I still had extra length in the forefoot, and given that the shoe is just super duper stiff from the upper and the midsole, I was experiencing pretty bad heel slippage. The heel slippage was pretty surprising because there are a lot of Achilles notches, but just that extra length and the overall stiffness of the shoe made me feel like my heel was about to pop right out of the shoe. So my recommendation for the sizing is to go down half a size if you have a normal width foot. Then if you have a wide foot, I would try to recommend that you go down half a size as well. However, that midfoot might be a little tight, but I'm just saying if you go through to size, then you're gonna be swimming in the shoe because there will be so much extra length. So if you're a wide footer, this might be just one of those shoes that's really not meant for you. Then if you have a narrow foot, I would try and recommend that you go down a full size because there really is so much extra length, and if you have a narrow foot, I think you might get away with how tight the midfoot is, and maybe it'll fit you better than most. Then for the aesthetic details on the shoe, you do have this milky white translucent outsole, but you also have this multicolor Boost branding on the midfoot. Then moving on to the midsole, you do have that plastic rand with that fake Lightstrike look, and to me that's just such a slap in the face to the consumer because you would like to think that this is actually Lightstrike instead of plastic with that Lightstrike texture just sort of stamped in there. And then for the upper, it is pretty much all white, so that softer textile inner shell is white, and then that plasticky outer shell is white as well. You have those white nylon pull tabs on the heel and the tongue, and white on the laces as well. Then you also have quite a few colors on the felt material on the shoe. So you have these patches of yellow and orange on the toe, these patches of beige on the medial and lateral side of the midfoot, this sort of teal or greenish blue felt that also serves as the middle three eyelets. You have this round patch of pink on the top eyelet, and patches of blue and neon green here at the heel. Then for your branding on the upper, here on the pull tab on the tongue, you have Harden's signature, and you also have this beige patch of felt with Harden's logo on the front and 1227 at the back, and I'm not really sure what that means. So if you know what that stands for, then please leave it in the comment section down below. And then here on the pull tab at the back, you have your Adidas 3 Stripes logo. You also have some text printed on the medial side which reads "Created with James Harden, Volume 5, Chapter 1, Creator." And the last thing about the aesthetic details is something I find a little bit strange, and is that those Achilles pillows inside the shoe are also neon green. I understand those blobs of neon green here on the upper that also glow in the dark, because you know a lot of people like that glow in the dark aesthetic touch, but it's just very strange when you put a glow in the dark material on the inside of the shoe, because honestly, when the hell is anyone gonna see that? But since not much on the shoe makes sense, I guess it's just par for the course. Then for the overall aesthetics on the shoe, it's not something that I particularly like. However, at least this colorway as well as the all pink ones don't look as bad as the black colorway or the Chinese New Year colorway. It just looks very weird overall with those patches that look like blobs, and nothing really looks like it, which makes it pretty jarring. However, I do understand that being that it's so unique, other people might be drawn to this kind of design. There have only been 4 colorways that have released, so who knows, they might make better colorways in the future, or they could just be terrible as with everything in this shoe. Then for the price, the Adidas Harden Volume 5 retails for 7,000 pesos here in the Philippines, or $130 US. The Hardens are the most expensive signature shoes in Adidas, but that really isn't saying much because the Dons and the Dames are really cheap. So when you compare these to Nikes such as the KDs and the LeBrons, they're quite a lot cheaper. However, given that this shoe is so disappointing and I can already tell that I'm not gonna like it, there are really so many other options that you can get right now. If you want something from Adidas, you have the Dames and the Dons, you have the Kyries, the PGs, you even have the Zoom Rise, and it's really just gonna take so much will on my part to performance review these, because even if these do break in, it feels like that break-in process will be grueling, so I just really hope for the best. Although if you like the way that these look and you don't mind having a shoe that's super stiff, you could get these over at the Adidas website or any of your local Adidas stores. If you live here in the Philippines, you can also get them from Titan, either in their physical store, their online store, or on the on-demand platform on Viber. So there you have it guys, that was my detailed review on the Adidas Volume 5 Futurenatural Magnolia. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then also make sure to join the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group because that's where I course all my monthly giveaways. So I'll be leaving a link to the Facebook group down below. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball PH.